Welcome, gents. You only become truly powerful when you no longer need what everyone else is chasing. There's a kind of man who doesn't move like the rest. He's not loud, he's not desperate, and he doesn't need a crowd to feel seen. He's called a Sigma male, not because he chose the title, but because people needed a word for the kind of man who simply doesn't fit in the system. He watches the world scramble for status, validation, attention, approval, and he quietly steps in the opposite direction. What sets him apart isn't what he wants, but what he can walk away from. That's the real power. While others are busy chasing desires they think will complete them, the Sigma male lets go. Not because he lacks ambition or drive, but because he knows not everything that looks like success is worth holding on to. There's strength in refusing what drains you, wisdom in staying silent when your ego wants to speak, and freedom in walking away from things most men spend their entire lives begging for. If you've ever felt like you're wired differently, if the usual dreams feel hollow to you, if solitude feels like a reset rather than a punishment, you're not broken. You might just be a Sigma in disguise. This path is not easy, but it's clean. No noise, no masks, just truth. Here's what only Sigma males have the courage to leave behind, and why walking away is sometimes the greatest act of power. Let's get started, gents. Number one, the desire to be chosen runs deep in most people. We grow up being taught to chase approval, to fit in, to be picked. Whether it's in love, at work, or in social circles, many people spend their lives hoping someone will finally look their way and say, "You're the one I want." But Sigma males don't think like that. They've walked through enough silence, enough rejection, and enough fake connections to realize one simple truth. Being chosen means nothing if you have to shrink yourself to earn it. Sigma males never beg for love or friendship. If you don't recognize their value, they don't argue. They don't try to prove themselves or hang around hoping you'll change your mind. They just leave. No closure, no dramatic exit. Just a quiet vanishing that feels cold only if you were never really paying attention to begin with. You won't see them chasing relationships or trying to force their way into someone's life. They understand that real bonds don't need convincing, and they would rather be alone than accepted for a version of themselves that isn't real. Picture a man who notices you pulling away and doesn't fight it. He simply nods and steps back, not out of weakness, but because he respects himself too much to stay where he's not wanted. That's a Sigma. He's not cold, he's just clear. And clarity is something most people don't expect, because they confuse silence with softness. Being chosen is overrated when the cost is your peace. A Sigma male would rather build alone than wait around for someone else to validate his worth. His self-respect is not up for debate. So if you've ever felt like you're constantly waiting to be picked, maybe it's time to stop. Maybe it's time to realize the real power is in choosing yourself and walking away the moment someone hesitates, just like a Sigma would. Number two, the desire for instant gratification is everywhere. Scroll long enough and something always promises to make you feel better now. Fast money, quick likes, easy praise. Most people can't resist it. They jump at the first shiny thing that gives them a moment of relief, even if it costs them peace down the road. But Sigma males, they see through the illusion. Sigma males have trained their minds to wait. Not because they're emotionless or superhuman, but because they understand the cost of chasing cheap rewards. They know that anything truly worth having will take time, discipline, and patience. They don't get distracted by quick wins that feel good for 5 minutes but leave you empty after. Think of a man who's building something in silence, no recognition, no applause, just consistent, quiet progress. That's the Sigma. He's not rushing for results. He's preparing for something bigger. While others burn out chasing shortcuts, he's focused on the long game. He's not looking for the sugar rush. He wants something solid, something that lasts. This mindset shows up in the way he works, the way he invests his energy, and the way he builds relationships. For example, he won't jump into a relationship just to avoid being alone. He knows temporary comfort often leads to permanent regret. He'd rather wait for something real than settle for something convenient. Sigma males have mastered the art of holding back when it's easier to give in. That is power, real power. Because while the world teaches you to grab whatever feels good right now, they've learned the value of restraint. Their success doesn't scream, it's earned slowly, and when it arrives, it doesn't fade overnight. If you're someone who can delay gratification, who can wait, build, and stay focused while the world rushes ahead, then you're not weak, you're rare, maybe even a sigma in the making, maybe even a... Number 3, the desire to be famous or seen is one of the loudest addictions in today's world. People will do almost anything to be noticed. Flashy posts, fake confidence, borrowed lifestyles, all just to get attention for a few seconds. But Sigma males are wired differently. They don't just walk away from fame, they reject it. To them, fame isn't flattering, it's a distraction, a trap dressed as praise. Fame demands that you constantly perform, always be on, always be available. And that's exactly what a Sigma refuses to be. He values his peace too much to trade it for popularity. He doesn't need thousands of people clapping for him to feel accomplished. He would rather be unknown and free than recognized and drained. While most people chase the spotlight, Sigma males build in the shadows. Think of the guy who runs a successful business but never brags about it, or the man who helps people quietly and doesn't film it for views. That's the Sigma approach. He lets his results speak for themselves. No loud announcements, no need for credit, just solid, real impact. He also knows that being seen by everyone often means being misunderstood by most. Fame puts you under a microscope, and once people have access to your name, they start thinking they own a piece of your story. A Sigma male won't give the world that kind of power. He prefers mystery over exposure, privacy over applause. He doesn't need a crowd, he needs clarity. And that's why he walks away from fame like it's a fire he doesn't need to touch. Because true power isn't about being known, it's about being unshakable even when no one's watching. So if you've ever felt like attention drains you, not fuels you, maybe you're not made for the stage. Maybe you're made for something deeper, something real. Number 4. The desire to fix broken people is one of the most painful lessons a Sigma male ever has to unlearn. In the beginning, his heart is wide open. He sees someone struggling, lost, or emotionally wounded, and something in him wants to help. Not because he needs to feel like a hero, but because he believes that love, loyalty, and patience can somehow pull someone out of their darkness. But with time and scars, he realizes something brutal but true. You can't heal someone who doesn't want to be healed. Sigma males have learned this lesson through experience, not theory. They've poured into people who were emotionally unavailable, unstable, or self-destructive. They've stayed longer than they should have, hoping their presence would spark change. But what they got in return was pain, drained energy, unmatched effort, and the cold realization that not everyone wants to be saved. Some people are addicted to their chaos. So now they walk away. Not because they're heartless, not because they lack compassion, but because they've finally understood that loving someone isn't the same as fixing them. They will stand beside you, support you, even offer a helping hand. But the moment they see you pulling them down with you, they let go, quietly, finally, for good. Imagine trying to save someone from drowning, only to realize they're dragging you under with them, and they're not even trying to swim. That's what it feels like. And Sigma males have learned not to drown for people who won't even hold their breath. This doesn't mean they don't care. It means they care enough to know their limits. They've stopped romanticizing struggle and started protecting their peace. So when they walk away from someone broken, it's not rejection, it's survival. Because real strength isn't fixing others, it's knowing when to save yourself. Number 5, the desire to impress. The desire to impress is one of the most common traps people fall into. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants their efforts noticed. So they talk about their goals, flash their wins, and decorate their lives with things meant to turn heads. But Sigma males don't care for any of that. They don't wear ambition like jewelry. They don't need to sparkle to feel valuable. Sigma males are too busy building to bother explaining. While others are performing success, they're actually doing the work. They understand that results speak louder than stories, and real power doesn't beg for applause. You won't find them announcing their next move or showing off what they're working on. Why? Because they know most people won't understand it, and even fewer could match it. They don't hustle for attention. They hustle for purpose, for growth, for the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing they did something real without needing to broadcast it. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. And it's rare. Think of a man who drives a regular car but owns the building, who doesn't wear designer clothes but owns the company behind the brand, who shows up looking ordinary but thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone in the room. That's a Sigma. He knows what he's worth. He just doesn't need to scream it. Sigma males understand that the more you try to impress, the more power you give away, because real value never needs a spotlight. It proves itself. So when people question their path or downplay their progress, they don't explain, they don't argue, they just keep building in silence. And one day the same people who doubted them are left wondering how it happened. They don't chase admiration, they live in truth. And that's what makes them unforgettable. Number 6, the desire to please everyone. The desire to please everyone is one of the most exhausting and soul-draining habits a person can have. It starts subtly, saying yes when you mean no, laughing at things that aren't funny, agreeing just to avoid conflict. Most people do it to feel accepted, to avoid rejection, to be seen as the good one. But Sigma males don't play that game. They've tried it. It nearly broke them. And now, they've walked away from it for good. A Sigma male understands that you can't make everyone happy without slowly killing parts of yourself. He learned often the hard way that no matter how kind, supportive, or selfless you are, someone will still criticize you, use you, or expect more. There's no finish line in people-pleasing, just more pressure and less of yourself. So he stopped. He no longer smiles just to keep the peace. He doesn't go out of his way to be liked. He doesn't twist himself into a version that fits into someone else's comfort zone, because he's realized something that most people miss. Peace feels better than approval. When you're constantly trying to please everyone, you live in fear. Fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood. But the moment a Sigma gives that up, everything changes. He starts making decisions based on his values, not others' expectations. He starts saying no without guilt and walking away without explaining himself. Picture a man who declines an invitation without making an excuse, who lets others be upset if it means staying true to his path. That's not arrogance, that's freedom. The Sigma male would rather disappoint the crowd than betray himself, because at the end of the day he has to live with his choices, not them. And when he sleeps at night, he's not haunted by fake smiles or swallowed words. He sleeps in peace. That's the reward for letting go of the need to be everyone's favorite. It's not selfish, it's survival, and it's rare. Number 7, the desire to win every battle. The desire to win every battle is a tempting one. Most people feel the urge to prove themselves, to come out on top, to make sure they're never seen as weak. Every disagreement becomes a challenge. Every insult becomes a test. But Sigma males don't think that way. They've developed a kind of wisdom that few people ever reach, the wisdom to walk away. Even when they know they could win, they've figured out that some battles are just noise. Some arguments are designed to drain you, not challenge you. And some people don't want resolution, they want attention. A Sigma male can spot that from a mile away. And instead of diving in, he steps back. He chooses peace over pride. Not because he's afraid, but because he values his energy too much to waste it, proving a point that doesn't matter in the long run. Think of it like this. A lion doesn't chase every barking dog. He knows what he is. He doesn't need to respond just to prove his strength. That's exactly how a Sigma moves. If someone's coming at him with ego or drama, he stays calm. If he senses the conversation is going nowhere, he exits quietly without guilt. Winning every battle sounds like power, but it's actually a trap. It keeps you reactive, always chasing someone else's chaos. Sigma males don't fall for that. They pick their battles carefully. And when they fight, it's with purpose, not pride. So if you've ever chosen silence over proving your point, if you've ever walked away instead of clapping back, understand this. That's not weakness. That's strategy. That's control. That's Sigma. Because not every fight is worth the scar it leaves. Number 8. The desire to appear strong. The desire to appear strong is one of the most dangerous lies men are taught. From an early age, they're told to hide their feelings, toughen up, never cry, and never show weakness. But that kind of strength is all performance. It's about looking strong, not actually being strong. Sigma males see through that. They don't chase the image, they live in the truth. A Sigma male has nothing to prove. He's not trying to impress anyone with a hardened face or a loud presence. He doesn't wear toughness like a mask. Instead, he chooses honesty. And that means being vulnerable when it matters. Not to gain sympathy, but to stay human. Real strength isn't about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about facing your pain without letting it control you. Imagine a man who can say, "I'm not okay right now," without feeling ashamed. Who can admit when he's wrong? Who can ask for help when he needs it? That's not weakness. That's strength without ego. That's power without the performance. Sigma males have learned that trying to look strong often comes from fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being rejected. But when you're at peace with who you are, you no longer need to act for the world. You live for your truth, not their applause. They walk away from the illusion of strength because they don't need to be seen as unbreakable. They've already broken and rebuilt themselves more than once. What they carry isn't an image, it's experience. So if you're tired of pretending, if you're done performing just to be accepted, take a page from the Sigma playbook. Let go of the need to appear strong. Be real, be grounded. That's what makes a man unshakable, not his image, but his ability to face life without flinching. Number 9. The desire for validation from weak women is something Sigma males have completely walked away from. Most men, whether they admit it or not, crave attention from women who praise them just enough to feel important. They hold on to compliments like oxygen, especially when it comes from someone who seems impressed by their strength. But Sigma males don't feed off flattery, especially when it comes from insecure women who are more interested in control than connection. They don't play emotional babysitter. They won't shrink themselves just to make someone else feel bigger. If a woman feels threatened by their independence, their focus, or their calm presence, a Sigma doesn't apologize for it. He lets her walk. No convincing, no chasing. Because here's what he knows: a strong man never seeks approval from someone who doesn't even know who she is. Sigma males are done with fragile egos dressed in compliments. They've had enough of being told, "You're too distant" or "You're too quiet," by women who are used to emotional entertainers, not grounded men. These types don't want strength. They want control over it. They want a man who follows, not one who leads himself. That's why a Sigma will never shrink to fit their insecurities. Picture a man who refuses to argue when someone calls him too much, who doesn't respond to emotional guilt trips or games, who hears, "You've changed," and says, "Yes, I have," without blinking. That's the kind of clarity Sigma males move with. They want connection, not approval. A real woman, not a fragile one. Someone who sees their depth and doesn't try to manage it. Someone who brings peace, not drama. So when weak women run from their energy, they let them go. Not out of arrogance, but because they know their worth. They don't need to be seen to feel powerful. They are powerful, with or without applause. Number 10. The desire to be right all the time is a trap that feeds the ego but starves the soul. Most people fall into it without even knowing. They get into arguments just to prove a point, raise their voice to sound smarter, and cling to opinions as if being wrong would make them disappear. But Sigma males have outgrown that phase. For them, truth matters more than ego, and peace matters more than winning. They don't jump into debates just to hear themselves talk. In fact, they often let people think they're wrong, even when they're not, because they've realized something powerful. Being right isn't always worth the energy it takes to prove it. They know that some people argue to understand, but most argue just to be heard. And Sigma males don't waste time trying to out-talk people who aren't even listening. There's strength in silence, and Sigma males use it well. While others are busy getting emotional and defensive, the Sigma steps back, watches, listens, and thinks. He's not interested in being the loudest voice in the room. He'd rather be the one who actually understands what's going on. Imagine someone throws an insult or tries to bait you into a fight. And instead of reacting, you just smile and walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you're beyond it. That's how a Sigma moves. His calm isn't indifference, it's control. He doesn't need the last word because he already knows who he is. And that's the secret. When you're truly confident, you don't argue to prove you're right. You stay silent to prove you're grounded. So if you've ever walked away from an argument, not because you lost, but because it wasn't worth your peace, you're already thinking like a Sigma. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Number 11, the desire to keep the peace at their own expense. The desire to keep the peace at your own expense is one of the most silent ways people betray themselves. Most are taught to keep things smooth. Don't rock the boat, don't say too much, just smile, nod, and swallow your discomfort. But Sigma males don't play that game. They've learned that keeping peace on the outside while chaos builds inside is not strength, it's self-destruction. They don't go quiet just to avoid tension. If something feels off, they say it, not to stir drama, but because truth matters more than comfort. And if speaking that truth breaks the mood, ends a friendship, or makes someone uncomfortable, so be it. Because Sigma males don't value shallow harmony. They value honesty that clears the air, even if it causes a storm. They understand that fake peace is fragile. It looks calm, but it's cracking underneath. Real peace comes from facing what needs to be said. That's why they won't sit in a room full of tension pretending everything's fine. If something's broken, they address it. If someone crosses a line, they call it out. And if that truth makes people uncomfortable, they let them sit in it. Picture a man who hears a lie and doesn't nod along, who sees dysfunction and doesn't just smile through it, who calls out passive aggression without raising his voice. That's a Sigma. He's not aggressive, he's direct. He doesn't aim to hurt, but he won't shrink just to be polite. This mindset isn't about creating conflict, it's about refusing to carry it alone. Sigma males would rather clean up the mess truth makes than live in the silence that eats away at their peace. So if keeping the peace means betraying who they are, they choose the storm. Because they know something most people don't. Sometimes breaking the room is the only way to clear the air. Number 12, the desire for a perfect reputation. The desire for a perfect reputation is a trap most people fall into without even noticing. Everyone wants to be seen as polished, respected, flawless. They filter their lives to fit a narrative, afraid of making mistakes in public, afraid of being misunderstood. But Sigma males have no interest in playing that game. They're not building brands. They're building real lives, and real life is never clean and picture perfect. Sigma males have accepted that being authentic will sometimes come with misunderstanding. People will talk, people will assume. And that's fine, because they're not here to impress the crowd. They're here to live with depth, purpose, and honesty. Their worth isn't up for public review, and they don't waste time curating a false image just to be liked. They've stopped chasing the idea of being everyone's favorite. They know that trying to protect a spotless reputation will eventually cost you your truth. So instead, they choose reality over reputation. They would rather be seen as cold than fake, misunderstood than hollow, alone than surrounded by people who only love their mask. For example, if a Sigma makes a tough decision that others don't agree with, he doesn't explain himself to win them back. He knows his intentions, that's enough. He doesn't need everyone to clap, he doesn't need everyone to stay. He lives with the kind of boldness that says, judge me if you want, I'll still do what feels right. And that quiet rebellion is exactly what makes him untouchable. So while others are chasing perfection, Sigma males are chasing peace. While others are building polished versions of themselves to stay relevant, they're doing the inner work that actually matters. Their legacy won't be built on likes, followers, or applause. It will be built on truth, scars, and the kind of unshakable self-respect that never needed the spotlight to shine. In final words, sometimes the most powerful move a man can make is to walk away without saying a word. Being a Sigma male isn't about being perfect. It's about being precise with your energy, your time, and your values. While most people are busy trying to be seen, heard, liked, and validated, Sigma males are doing the one thing that takes real strength. They're letting go of ego, of people-pleasing, of shallow wins, of anything that feels fake or forced. And that kind of clarity doesn't come easy. It comes from pain, from silence, from choosing growth over comfort again and again. The truth is, walking away doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. You've seen what those desires lead to. You've watched others lose themselves trying to be everything for everyone, and you chose different. You chose yourself. That doesn't make you heartless. That makes you rare. So if you've been second-guessing the quiet path you've taken, the way you think, the way you move, the things you no longer chase, understand this. You're not lost. You're ahead. You're not broken. You're built different. You're not following the world's rhythm because you've found your own. And in a world where most people are trapped by their need to be wanted, chosen, and praised, the Sigma male remains free. Free to think, free to move, free to be. So stay sharp, stay grounded, and never forget, what you walk away from defines you just as much as what you choose to pursue. That's the Sigma way. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.